Star Trek Voyager's 10 best Season 3 episodes made Captain Janeway's crew stronger in the Delta Quadrant. Star Trek Voyager is one of those classic shows that improved with every season. By Season 3, it is safe to say the fifth Star Trek show had finally come into its own. Season 2's finale was a two-part episode that bridged the gap between the second and third seasons, and more importantly, it concluded the ship's conflict with the controversial Kazan. After the opening episode, the USS Voyager was in a new part of the Delta Quadrant, unburdened by expectations, enemies, or allies. That was the perfect setup for Voyager Season 3 to take the series to new heights. Naturally, Captain Catherine Janeway, Kate Mulgrew, and Voyager's cast of characters were able to unlock new storylines and interactions in Season 3, and the episodes reflect that. In Season 3, Commander Chakotay Robert Beltran and Captain Janeway forge a stronger working relationship, Neelix's Ethan Phillips grows into a more well-rounded character, and the Dr. Robert Picardo becomes more human than ever before. Across its 26-episode run, Voyager Season 3 delved deeper into the inner lives of every member of Voyager's crew, and in so doing transformed the show into the iconic series it is today. It is always fun to revisit the Q continuum, and John D. Lancey's second appearance on Voyager is no exception. The Voyager Season 2 episode, Death Wish, established contact between Q and Voyager, and the Q in the Gray revealed that Q was so impressed with Captain Janeway's actions that he saw her as a potential mate. The ultimate reveal that Q mates by touching fingers is a particularly humorous twist in an already fun episode. The only reason the Q and the Gray isn't ranked higher on this list is that it is mostly a fluff episode, and the Confederate costumes worn by some of the Q continuum didn't age particularly well. Nevertheless, the Q and the Gray is an undeniably fun episode of Star Trek. D. Lancey's take on Q is so delightfully capricious that you cannot fault him for once again failing to zap Voyager back to the Alpha Quadrant, and watching him make Captain Kathy Janeway his baby's godmother is undeniably endearing. Ensign Harry Kim Garrett Wang is, in many ways, like a son to Captain Janeway. She holds him to a higher standard than the rest of the crew and feels outsized guilt that he was stranded in the Delta Quadrant at such a young age. But despite, or perhaps because of Captain Janeway's affections, Ensign Kim rarely gets the recognition that he deserves. Indeed, the finale of Star Trek, Lower Decks, makes a joke out of the fact that Harry Kim remains an ensign in almost every reality. Favorite Son shows the dark side of giving Kim more recognition. By Season 3 of Star Trek Voyager, the crew of the USS Voyager had already survived countless hostile encounters, strange anomalies, and moral dilemmas in the vast, uncharted Delta Quadrant. But this season wasn't just about survival, it was about evolution. The third season offered a series of standout episodes that pushed Janeway's crew to grow stronger, not just as individuals, but as a family. Whether through brutal battles, personal transformations, or ethical crucibles, these 10 episodes forged bonds, deepened character arcs, and defined the resilience of Voyager's mission. 1. Scorpion Part I. It arrived at the very end of the season, but Scorpion changed Voyager forever. Introducing Species 8472 and the beginning of the Borg Alliance arc, this episode forced Janeway into the most uneasy truce in Trek history. Her gamble didn't just redefine how Voyager would deal with enemies, it reshaped the crew's understanding of survival. Janeway's decision to ally with the Borg challenged everyone's trust in her leadership, but ultimately it hardened the crew's resolve. Survive first, figure out the consequences later. 2. Before and after, Kes became the focus of one of Voyager's most emotionally powerful stories. As she jumped backward through time, her unique journey gave the crew a warning about future dangers, including the Year of Hell. More than just a narrative trick, this glimpse into alternate timelines helped the crew mentally prepare for what might lie ahead. It solidified Kes' role as more than just the ship's morale officer, she became a beacon of foresight. 3. Future's End, Parts I and II. Time travel is a Trek staple, but this two-parter was one of Voyager's best. Stranded in 1996 Los Angeles, the crew battled to prevent a technology heist that could jeopardize the future. The story was a fun detour, but it also showed how well the crew could operate under wildly unfamiliar conditions. Janeway and Tuvok in the field, Paris and Torres undercover, and even Chakotay leading from a hijacked van, it proved they were adaptable, no matter what century they landed in. 4. Unity. When Chakotay encountered X-Borg drones attempting to form a new, peaceful collective, Voyager tackled one of its most complex moral questions yet. Is there peace in unity, or does individuality always win? The crew's decision to help these drones, despite their Borg past, laid groundwork for themes that would become vital in later seasons. It also marked a moment where Chakotay's empathy made him stand apart as more than Janeway's second-in-command. He was a moral compass. 5. Real life. The Doctor's attempt to experience domestic life through a holodeck family went from sitcom to gut punch. As he dealt with grief, responsibility, and emotional pain for the first time, the rest of the crew watched him grow in the most human way imaginable. This episode didn't just make the Doctor stronger, it reminded the entire crew that emotional growth was as essential as scientific advancement. 6. Coda. Coda explored the nature of death, consciousness, and the afterlife as Janeway repeatedly died in various scenarios, only to wake again and again. Eventually, she faced off with an alien being posing as her dead father, trying to convince her to let go. But true to form, Janeway chose life, not just for herself, but for her crew. Her strength, her refusal to surrender, and her unwavering devotion to her ship reminded everyone why she was captain. 7. Worst-case scenario. When the crew discovers a holodeck program simulating a Maquis mutiny, tensions resurface, and then explode when the program is sabotaged by the rogue hologram Seska. What begins as a humorous what-if turns into a deadly game. But by the end, the crew emerges stronger, having confronted unresolved tensions between Starfleet and Maquis members. The danger reminded everyone how far they'd come from the early days of mistrust. 8. Distant origin. A brilliant allegory for evolution and denial, this episode featured a scientist from a saurian species trying to prove his people evolved from Earth. When Janeway defends science over religious dogma, the crew reaffirms its commitment to truth and discovery, no matter how controversial. The episode doesn't feature a major crew arc, but it reflects Voyager's identity as a vessel of knowledge in a hostile quadrant. It was a quiet strength builder, emphasizing purpose. 9. Blood fever. When Ensign Vorik experiences Pon farr and accidentally triggers B'Elanna Torres's own Klingon instincts, it leads to a dangerous emotional explosion. But beneath the surface, this was a turning point in Torres' arc. Her struggle between her human and Klingon halves took center stage, and it pushed her relationship with Tom Paris into new, uncharted territory. Torres didn't just fight Vorik, she fought herself. And the crew gained a better understanding of the internal battles that often matter most. 10. Darkling. The Doctor's experimentation with personality augmentation goes horribly wrong as his program absorbs traits from historical figures, some of them dangerously violent. The line between artificial intelligence and true consciousness blurred further, forcing the crew to once again reevaluate what it means to be sentient. The Doctor's internal war mirrored the crew's external struggles in the Delta Quadrant. Change is necessary,